Hello and welcome back to another Trailblazers We Love. We are so thrilled today to have the wonderful Peter Ganza from the AppExchange Whisperer. Peter, how are you doing today?
I am good, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you being here. For those of you who don't know, Peter is a brilliant consultant and knower of many things, including world history and Roman history. So, great guy to talk to. But really excited to get your perspective today, Peter. I know we talked about some of these things down at Life Sciences Streaming, but for the folks at home, tell us a little bit about how you got started in the Salesforce space, if you would.
So, interesting story. I know quite a few of the folks that have done these videos talk about being an accidental admin, those types of things. I did not go down that path. I worked in what I call old school tech, places like Semantic and OpenText for many years. And believe it or not, I was just stumbling on LinkedIn one day and found this opening for Salesforce Canada for product marketing. And I was familiar with Salesforce, and I said, why not? And I put in the application, and long story short, ended up working at Salesforce.
Yeah, thank you obviously for being an avid follower of the Trailblazers We Love series. So that's the I think you're the first person that we've talked to that worked directly for Salesforce, at least that I've talked to. I know that Shannon and Andrew have done a ton of these. So that's really interesting. And the fact that you stumbled upon it as opposed to being some accident alignment, which we do have a lot of. So from your vantage, what do you think are some really good resources? Like I think a lot of the people that watch these videos are people that are looking to break into the space and maybe they're wondering, how can they get there as quickly as possible? So what do you think about that?
Great question, great topic. There's been a lot of great suggestions, and there's a ton of great resources out there. I'll just say that in general. From my perspective, I'd say LinkedIn is gold. I'm on LinkedIn every day. I have to be just because of what I do, but it is so valuable just for networking and finding stuff, having conversations with people you necessarily have not met before. And it's just a great resource, and I highly encourage everyone to spend some time on LinkedIn. I often tell admins will reach out to me, people trying to break into the ecosystem and get their first role, and I'll say you spend at least, if not an hour a day, but at least an hour to a week on LinkedIn because it takes time, right? You can't just pay for a good LinkedIn profile or pay for that network. It takes time, right? Mine I've developed and curated over 20 plus years, right? So that would be my answer is LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's really helpful to know. If I could add like a follow-up question to that, we hear a lot from people, or you'll see people online talking about how they've applied for hundreds of jobs and have had difficulty finding the right fit. I think one challenge people face is that in this era, it's become so easy to just apply for jobs that companies get hundreds and hundreds of applications for every open role that they put in a matter of moments. So for those job seekers that may be listening, what are some ways that they can stand out, that they can differentiate themselves from the masses that are applying for similar positions?
Amazing follow-up. I'm so glad that you'd mentioned that. It's different now, completely different. So when I talk about I saw the Salesforce opening on LinkedIn and just applied, that was back in the old world. And recruiters weren't taking down job postings because they had thousands of applications
Exactly.
or at least hundreds. Just wanted to put that out there as the outset. You have to stand out. It's not good enough now. Let's say you're an admin, for example. Nobody cares how many certifications you have. It's not as simple as it was before. So you have to stand out, and the way to do that is to be unique and find another way in. I often tell people the most surefire way is to have somebody vouch for you or look at that company, find if you've got a connection, obviously great, reach out to that person, but mutual connections, right? That's one of the keys to LinkedIn, why it's so valuable. It's not about necessarily your first level connections, right? But because of this networking effect, guaranteed you're going to have a second level connection. So go through those, reach out to those people, and try and get in. It's not in a nefarious way, right? But you have to stand out, especially now because everything's automated, right? Everything's going through these applicant tracking systems, right? And it's not like there's a person going through each application or a recruiter at that first stage. That is all being automated, which is why a lot of people are having challenges just getting past that first level. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. I would tend to agree with that. Kind of 10 good applications are better than 1,000 one-click and you're done ones. So yeah, I know we talked about that at Life Sciences Dream Minute, but it definitely is more competitive out there. So that's really helpful for those folks at home listening. I'm curious, you've been in tech for a long time and then came to work for Salesforce and then went into the consultancy path. So I think you have a really unique vantage on this, but what are some Salesforce products that maybe don't get talked about that much that you think are really interesting or that more people should know about?
So I'm actually going to say AppExchange. Believe it or not, it is a product. People, the bulk of people out there don't realize the AppExchange is actually a product. It's developed by Salesforce. There's a team behind it. Okay, technically, I think there's only 2 people, but anyway, it's a search engine, and it's not just a marketplace. It's a combination of many things. There's actually multiple variants of the AppExchange. There's a Japan AppExchange. That's a whole nother interview. They have a separate one, and which is one of the reasons why I went with this AppExchange Whisperer thing is because of just that. It's a product and there is science to it in how the algorithm looks at you. The algorithm is quite complex. And like I said, it is actually a product, not sold directly, but obviously indirectly, it's making quite a bit of money for Salesforce.
Yeah, I was using the App Exchange a lot in the lead up to Life Sciences Dream Mint to find life sciences specific products. So like companies in maybe they have a solution for the clinical trials space. So I thought it was very useful to find relevant companies and products. But I'm curious about what the App Exchange Whisperer does and what you help companies with. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Happy to. I work just with partners, 100% Salesforce partners, and helping them get deals. Leads are great. Traffic is amazing, awesome. Green arrows pointing to the sky, but the deals are all that matter. And going through all the experiences, the roles that I've had working at Salesforce and a number of roles before that, I found what doesn't work. And based on that, I'm able to have success with partners actually getting deals. And there's a lot to that. It's obviously quite complicated, but that's essentially what I do. And it's primarily focused on the App Exchange. Every ISV, for example, every Salesforce partner with a widget on the App Exchange, a product, the App Exchange should be their number one deal generator. And keep in mind, I always say deals, right? And it's great to get leads. For example, you go to an event, let's say Life Sciences Dreaming, good example, or even Dreamforce, even better example. Get these scans and
I'm not
leads.
sure if it's a better example, but it's certainly another example.
I just mean in terms of quantity, right?
I'm just kidding.
I know. Honestly, I tell all of my clients, they always ask about Dreamforce. I say, don't do Dreamforce. And they look at me like I have 3 heads. I actually have a great article on my LinkedIn, how Dreamforce almost got me fired. And when I say don't do Dreamforce, don't sponsor Dreamforce. You've been, and it's the same, right? You run through the trade show floor and you go to every booth and just get scanned just so you can get the swag, right? You're not actually a lead. And at that investment level, it's expensive for most ISVs. It's not worth the investment. What is worth it is pivoting. So, we met at a dreaming event, right? We were on the planning committee, and those are gold, right? So my article actually talks a little bit about that, how Dreamforce almost got me fired. You can find it on my LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I certainly, for the Salesforce folks that might tune in, we love Dreamforce, we love Salesforce. I was just ribbing Peter over here because we think we also threw quite an event. But of course, Dreamforce is a huge ordeal and is like the mecca of Salesforce. Definitely an experience for everybody. Yeah, I really think that's interesting about how ISV partners should be utilizing the App Exchange better to find clients because I was looking for potential sponsors to the AppExchange and found a couple because I found their products for specific markets. But it makes sense that folks that were in those markets, like if you're in clinical trials and need some solution for Salesforce, you just go to the AppExchange and type the industry that you're in and find products that are relevant to the challenges that you're facing. So do you help them get listed higher? It's like an SEO for the AppExchange, I'm probably not saying that correctly, or
No, it's I think the word you're looking for is oversimplification, but yes, that is part of it. So keyword positions is a piece of it. I get asked all the time, what's the number one thing I can do on AppExchange, right? Everyone always asks me, what's the silver bullet? The silver bullet is there's a million things. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but there's quite a few things. There is no one thing that's going to propel you to the number one position. So the SEO is a piece of it. I understand the algorithm enough to be able to impact that and increase search positions, get you into the top results, if not the number one. But there's a lot behind that as well, not just SEO.
got it. Thanks for that. Yeah, I always like to ask people questions that are unique to their personal experiences. So you are the App Exchange Whisperer, so great to get our App Exchange questions out. Pivoting to a Salesforce prediction, I'm really curious what you think is in store for Salesforce in 2025 and going further. If you want to talk about something Salesforce specific or even App Exchange specific, that would obviously be fine. But where do you think that the industry is heading?
Oh, interesting topic. And everyone always talks about this. At the outset, I'll just say these are just my predictions, my mindset. I'm not a Salesforce employee anymore. This is not Salesforce's opinion, just my own personal opinion. But a couple things. So one, of course, I'm not sure if you've heard, but there's this little thing called AI that people have been talking about, and Salesforce
What's that?
Salesforce made this little pivot to talk about agents, a minor thing. Anyway, the prediction I have there is something is going to happen. I don't know what, but I'll add that I'm on the partner community pretty much all day long, and I've never seen the amount of posts focused just on one topic. Literally every post is agent force. So there's something there. I worked at Salesforce. We're all familiar with Salesforce. We'll announce at Dreamforce, and next year it comes out like it's tends to be more of a market. This is not a marketing thing. So there is something there. What that is, I don't know, but it's going to change the game. In what ways, we don't know. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and I mentioned this on a couple of podcasts previously, it seemed like Slack kind of went away for a few years there when they bought it, and oh yeah, everything's going to go Slack first, and then it just disappeared. Obviously, people are using it. I'm using it. It's a great product, but that is going to come back. It never went away. They are obviously working on it, so I would anticipate in 2025 we're going to see some major movement in terms of what Slack can do and how it's all integrated. And they're going to make good on what they said when they purchased it. Things are going to go Slack first.
Yeah, I think that everybody is in a kind of similar position of trying to figure out what is going to be the result of Agent Force or AI more generally. I think that some it's a panacea for all business operational issues that they may be facing. For others, it's the end of the human worker. And then there's some more nuanced people in the middle that are thinking that, okay, this is going to really change the way that, everybody from admins to developers to business analysts are going to be interacting with these systems. So I definitely share your excitement to see what comes out of Agent Force. And that's also very good to know. Fair to say that Slack is back, or
Maybe I wouldn't say that way, but yeah, in just from like a marketing perspective, right? It seemed like there was a big hype and everyone was talking about it, and then it just went to the wayside even before this Agent Force stuff, but it was always there, right? They obviously are working on it. It's not like they paused or anything like that. I just feel like it's finally going to come back to the forefront, right?
yeah, Slack is a great tool. It'll be cool to see what they do with it moving forward and how they market it. We always like to end these kind of on a lighter note, something non-Salesforce related. We spend so much of our day talking about Salesforce as it is. Do you have any recommendations for the fine folks at home? A book, a podcast? Maybe you want to talk about a podcast that you've done or anything that you'd like to recommend to the audience?
Yeah, so two things. In terms of a podcast, I'm an active member on speaker on the Salesforce Career Show. So I think you had Vanessa Grant on here. I don't think she mentioned it, but it's her show. She co-hosts it with the gentleman named Josh Matthews. Anyway, check out the Salesforce Career Show. That's amazing, especially just career-wise. And then I know everyone talks about the book that they're reading. Anyway, I do have a book suggestion. I actually started rereading it for the 17th time. It's a book called Team of Teams, and it's by forgive me, I forget the general's name, but a retired general from the U.S. Military. It has nothing to do with Salesforce whatsoever. It's just a great book on taking some aspects of like a military approach, if you will, outside of um, the bullets and whatnot, but just a planning perspective and a different way to look at interacting with teams and a lot of good best practices in there. So Team of Teams, I would recommend as a book.
Definitely have to check it out. Sounds like a modern version of The Art of War, but maybe more leadership and team management orientated.
Yes, I would definitely agree. It's not the art of war, that's for sure. But
Thanks so much, Peter. Really appreciate you joining us today. Looking forward to talking to you again and seeing you at the next Life Sciences Dreaming.
my pleasure, you as well, and thanks for having me.